Many of you have been looking for an answer to where is the Duncan v. Becerra case, the case dealing with standard capacity magazines. Well, today we're going to talk with Virginia Duncan of that case. Today I'm with Virginia Duncan of Counsel Guns and Counsel Idaho. Virginia is the named plaintiff on the Duncan v. Becerra case that seeks to guarantee your Second Amendment rights to have standard capacity magazines, not just here now in California, but throughout the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals area. Virginia will tell you, as I will, that this did not start with her case. It actually started during a day known as Gunmageddon. That is where Senator Kevin De Leon and former Governor Jerry Brown both sought to fight current Governor Gavin Newsom, who had his Proposition 63 moving through. Senate Bill 1446 is what went up and created what we now know as the ban on magazines over 10 rounds. Virginia, what was going through your head at the time Gunmageddon happened? I mean, you were just another one of us in California as a gun owner. I mean, what did you think when that was all happening?
Wow, I wasn't ready for that one.
I don't think any of us were. I mean, what we're trying to go back and help some of the people remember is, since we've had this COVID-19, we've had over 1 million new gun owners in California, and over 60% are like you. They're women that have joined us for the first time. And so we're trying to help them understand what is this all about, because as they stood in long lines to purchase their first firearm, they got introduced to the 10-day wait. They got introduced to, you have to have an ammo license to buy the ammo to go in the gun, so it's not a paperweight. And then they got told, no, you can't get the magazine that you saw online that had 17 rounds or 15 rounds. You can only get the 10 round. And that's the first time they heard your name in Duncan v. Becerra. So a lot of what this interview is for is to help them understand what it was like for all of us when this first started to come down the pipeline. And so my first question for you on this would be, Virginia, I've known you for a long time. You're a hunter. You're a person who goes out and works with kids. You help them, introduce them to hunting and safety. I imagine that when you were on the range, you sometimes had magazines prior to Prop 63 that had more than 10 rounds.
Yes, I did.
And you didn't consider yourself a small South American general starting a war?
No, not at all. It was something standard that came with the handgun. So, I didn't think anything negative about it.
So at what point did you decide to be a plaintiff in this case, to actually make the move from just being a gun owner to standing up not only for your rights, but for the rights of others?
Honestly, there's a lot of veterans out there who have the standard capacity magazine that, they now name high capacity. And them just becoming a felon, an automatic felon for possessing it, made no sense to me at all. And it was something that I thought was worth fighting for.
And that's what I want to point out. You come from a long line of people who have served this country. And I have watched you over the years give back to veterans all over the place. And I want to thank you for that. I imagine, though, when you went to make that move to be a plaintiff, because I hear this all the time, what kind of rumors did you hear? Like, what kind of things did people tell you, like, if you do this, this is going to happen or that's going to happen?
Oh, I've heard quite a few. I would have hundreds of protesters walking around in front of my house. I would have cow manure dumped in my front yard. I would have the media talking negative or trying to find ways to basically make me look like a terrible person. And none of which has happened.
None of it.
None.
And I think that's important because I think that the opposition, the anti-gun lobby, has done a very effective job of scaring law-abiding citizens to thinking that their life will be ruined if they stand up for their rights. And what I'm hearing you say is that hasn't happened.
It has not happened at all. Not at all.
So, as we all know, Duncan v. Becerra moved through the courts and started off in San Diego with the judges now become within the Second Amendment community known as Saint Benitez. But Judge Benitez handed down a injunction which led to a thing called Freedom Week. What was your feelings when Freedom Week started up and happened?
Amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I was very happy about it, and it made me feel good to know that there was thousands of people out there purchasing them left and right. And the things I was hearing about how basically California made it possible to sell out of all those magazines from every manufacturers.
Correct.
If I'm saying that correctly. I want to go back to one thing when we were just talking about all the possible negative things that could happen if I was to go ahead and go on with this case. Even if any of those did happen, I still would do it. I would. To me, it's worth it. It's their Second Amendment.
Very good. And one of the things I want to highlight on that is, as you just said, there was over 1 million magazines brought in less than a week. And one of the things that, and I know you and I've talked about this before, was the rumors were, if those magazines come in, the opposition said there were going to be massive shootings, war zones, California was going to break down. We haven't seen that.
Nope.
So I think that kind of flies against the rhetoric of it. Now the case, obviously, at the end of the week, got closed down in Freedom Week, which was a little over a year ago, and moved through the Ninth Circuit to go to a 3-judge panel, which just listened to the case. Any day now, we may have a decision on that. And of course, we don't know what Bacerra and Governor Newsom are going to do, but the hunch is they'll probably appeal for an en banc, which is a larger Ninth Circuit court to look at it. But thanks to the current president, we have more people inside that court system. So we could even win there. And then they would have to make a decision of to appeal it to the Supreme Court, which probably wouldn't be a wise decision, or to let it be the law of the land in Ninth Circuit, which is interesting because you're in a state now with your gun store that's covered by the Ninth Circuit. And one of the things that I've constantly told people that want to leave California because they're tired of the gun laws is you left California to go into retirement and have your dream of a gun store, which I'm really happy for you. And I think it's really cool. But I think you're a great person to be able to sit there and say, hey, what happens in California can even impact you when you're in Idaho because you're still in the Ninth Circuit.
Yes.
And I think that's an issue that I think a lot of people have to start realizing, that all the states have to fight together on these fights for the Second Amendment, because it's not limited to one state. This is a nationwide battle, and this case is a part of that battle. And I'm going to ask you, what drives you to actually want to defend the Second Amendment?
Wow. Honestly, in my head, it's our right to be able to have firearms if we want to protect ourselves. It's also used for sports, shooting sports and hunting. And to me, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I don't believe in our rights being taken away, especially from mainly the government, to be honest with you. I do not believe that it is in their power to be able to take away our rights as law-abiding citizens.
So one of the things that I know I've talked to your husband about a couple times when we've got together is I find it interesting. I'm curious if you have any comment that politicians, when they take office, they take an oath to defend the Constitution. And I often want to look at them and go, how can you defend the Constitution when you're trying to unravel it? Is that ever crossed your mind?
Yes, many times. Many times.
When you're up there in Idaho, do you still find yourself talking to people about these rights the same as when you were down in California?
I actually do, simply because I mean, a lot of people know that just because it's happening in one state, it doesn't mean it's not gonna flood over to the next state. And I've seen that happen. I've seen what happens in California or New York um, slowly work its way into other states. And to me, I would rather be aware of what's going on, be prepared to fight rather than to think, oh, well, we don't have those crazy California laws, so it's not going to affect us. Because honestly, I think years ago, that was the attitude California had, was it would never happen here.
Virginia, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I think this is going to help a lot of people out there to understand that it's okay to be a plaintiff. In fact, it's encouraged to be one, to stand up for your rights. Without you making this step, we would have never known Freedom Week. We would have not known the success we've had and the success it looks like we're going to have in the future. On behalf of the California Rifle Pistol Association and all of the gun owners here in California and the Ninth Circuit, we thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Rick.